Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Rae Raczka, the founder of the Ops Collective. Rae's story is one I know so many of you are going to feel in your bones because before she ever called herself an OBM, she was the person who kept the whole business upright. I'm talking accounting, payroll, bookkeeping, keeping operations running smoothly, even supporting multiple entities, including international ones, and she was doing it all at a pace that was completely unsustainable. So, in today's conversation, Rae is going to walk us through the moment things clicked, the day that she realized she could not keep carrying that level of stress, and how that became the start of building her own business. We talk about the shift from VA work into the OBM seat, what it really looks like to become the kind of operators that founders trust, and the behind the scenes work that is not glamorous, but absolutely changes everything for a growing team. We also get into one of the most important topics in this industry, pricing. So Rae is going to share the lessons that so many of us learn the hard way, that hourly pricing can punish you for being efficient, and what she's doing instead. If you are someone who knows you are capable of more than just task work, or you're ready to move from helpful to indispensable, you are going to love this interview. Let's get into it. Rae, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I love to sort of start these interviews with kind of like a little bit of a background, like how on earth did you end up working online and finding this whole space to begin with?
That's a good question. So I graduated from college with a HR major. I kind of told myself I was 4 years and out, and found a job as a accountant, like a bookkeeper. Yeah, I know, so random, but loved it, and I kind of just worked my way up. I worked there for years and worked my way up to office manager. I was handling 5 different entities across three countries, so Canada, Mexico, and United States. And I was kind of handling all the offices with them, right? So I was like the main person that was uh, in charge of the operations and how everything flowed between all of them. Payroll for every single entity, the books for every single entity, the banks, all that stuff. So I was the go-to. And there was a day where I was explaining to my boss, like, hey, this office isn't tracking expenses. And it's very important that we track expenses to the right categories and all that. And he agreed with me. We had this whole meeting. I'm like, all right, we need to get on this call with the other office and explain to them how important it is. And he's like, yep, let's get on a call. And so we get on a call, and I'm explaining, and he cuts me short and says, Rae, let's just forget about it. And I was like, fuming at that point because I'm in front of all these people that I'm supposed to be in charge of and tracking everything. So we get off the call, and I immediately took my first full hour lunch that I've never taken. But I went out to eat, and I actually did a shot at lunch because I was so upset.
So funny.
And that was the day. That was the day I decided, I'm like, this is not sustainable for me. I'm working 60, 65 hours a week. I'm killing myself. I'm constantly stressed. My chest hurts every day because I have to handle all these things. I actually started applying for other jobs and got one, signed an offer letter. And the Friday before I was supposed to start my new job, I called them and I said, I'm not doing this. I'm actually going to start doing my own thing. They were not happy with me, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And my husband was really supportive. I said, I just need like 4 to 6 months. Like, let me run with this.
Yeah, of course.
And I said, just let me run with this. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't take off like I think it's going to, I'll find another job. And he said, you got this.
How long did it take you to find that first client?
So what happened was my office job, my corporate job, there was only 2 of us running the whole like accounting and operations. I quit, and then a week later, the other guy put in his 2 weeks. So we both left at like the same time, and they were kind of freaking out. And I said, well, if you still need somebody, I can, like, you can sign a contract with me, and I'm going to be a contractor. Like, you're not going to be in charge of me. Like, I have my own hours. These are when I'm available. And I kind of flipped the switch on them.
Good for
And
you.
and so they signed the contract, and that's kind of how I started. But again, I was in control of my hours and what I was going to be in charge of, and I was just training the new people basically. And then, like, 3 or 4 months in is when I found my new client,
Okay.
or my next client. And it's so funny because I was in that like little bit of self-doubt, like, what am I doing kind of thing, because I was like, again, 4 months in. And so I went for a drive. Wasn't going anywhere specific, just like needed to get out of here, just whatever. And the email came in from the client saying that they wanted a discovery call with me, and I had to pull over because I was like crying, like, this is happening. You know?
I love that.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. This is really working. Because like I just put it on the out universe, you know, like, I'm gonna do this, and you know, it delivered, and that's just like how
I
it
mean,
happened.
it's amazing how that happens.
Yeah. So, got on a discovery call. I still work with her to this day. This was,
Oh, that's so cute.
I signed her in 2022. So yeah, I've been working with her for going on 4 years.
Love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's great.
such a testament to your, ability to be a great leader and a great manager. So it's really clear to me, Rae, that you have a lot, like, in retrospect, a lot of transferable skills that came out of your corporate job. Can you speak a little bit to what that looks and feels like, so that if someone is listening and they are working in a similar role in their corporate job, I feel like a lot of our community or people that are interested in stepping into the OBM role, they don't really draw the line between the similarities or the transferable skills. So in retrospect, what are some of those transferable skills? I feel like yours are very spot on, but like, what are some transferable skills, or maybe some of the things that you wish you would have prioritized or owned at the beginning? Because I know a lot of us just sort of throw it all aside, and they're like, well, I'm moving into the online space, so none of these corporate transferable skills apply in my situation anymore.
Yeah, I think I transferred almost all of my skills. I think at first, when I was first starting out, I was just like a yes man to everything. And when I was a yes man too, it's like I didn't need to know everything under the sun, right? Like, you still can learn as you go.
Yeah,
And
it's a learn as you learn as you earn.
yes. Yes, yeah. Like, you don't need to know everything, and you can absolutely Google things or ChatGPT, like, how do I do this or whatnot. So, but like my skills, every business needs to run in a certain way, right? Like, so taking those workflows that I already created for a corporate business and just being able to spot it into a different business or business model, right? So like, I don't have all clients that have, like, we're the same as my corporate job, right? Like, I have a parent coach, I have a business consultant, I have an executive coach. Like, the spectrum is wide right now,
Well, that's
but
really interesting. So you don't really have a niche per se.
I don't. No. I have a bookkeeper client, a staffing agency. So like, I have multiple different clients and multiple different business models and industries. And I like it that way too, because it kind of like, I get to see.
Interesting.
It does, yeah. And I can kind of switch my brain, but I also can take different, like, I don't know, thought processes from one business to a next. And I can kind of like, oh, this worked for this business in this way. If I just tweak it this much for this business, it can just plug and
Like a
play.
true strategist,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So taking like what I know about doing workflows and making sure that my 60-hour week wasn't an 80-hour week, just putting it into these
I don't
businesses.
remember those things. I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love that. So I love that you were able, because I know that in your, with that first client, there were a lot of things that you transferred over. And then the fact that it was your past corporate client that you moved so seamlessly. I mean, can we just talk about that for a second? Because Friends who are listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, it is so not uncommon for OBMs to contract their former employees as their first client. It's not uncommon. So I think it's really important to remember, or maybe if you're listening, think, okay, well, that's interesting. I've never thought about that. What would that look like? Any advice to give to those people? What would that look like?
Just having like a natural conversation, like, hey, I think being open and honest, like, I'm not comfortable in the position that I'm doing, and I think that we just need to kind of like transition that role, and I just kind of like take ownership of what you want in your life, I think is what the biggest thing was. So like I had a conversation with my boss, and then it turned into my client. I was like, listen, I can't work this many hours. It's not sustainable. Like, my chest is literally hurting. I'm 25 years old and I'm having chest pains because I'm so stressed. Like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
So just having an open and honest conversation, and the way I started out was like, I'll keep my hourly rate and just sign on, but these are my stipulations and these are my boundaries, and keeping those boundaries is the biggest thing, right? So they can't call me after hours anymore.
Right.
No sir, like, that's just not
Right.
it.
That's so good. So it's like also like an opportunity to just shake it up, change for how you're working. So let's speak a little bit more to this shift from VA to OBM work. So as you're making this shift, you're enrolling in the accreditation. You went straight into the accreditation. You didn't start in our accelerator, which I love, because I love when individuals recognize that they have the experience, they've built out their business development. I mean, it also seems like that's very much your background. And just your natural tenacity as a former office manager, that you were like building out all of those systems and all those things for yourself. So you moved into the accreditation. How long after starting accreditation did you start to, call yourself an OBM, take on OBM clients? Like, what did that look like for you?
Like right away. So really, from the moment that I got the accreditation, I put it on my website. I'm an OBM. My signature on my email changed.
I love it.
And then I kind of went from there. I honestly think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I got my first OBM client the same month that I got my certificate.
Really?
Yep, I did. And I still have her as a client as well.
And so what does she do? What was that? What did that look like? How did things change? How was the onboarding different? Like, what did that look like?
It's so I built out my onboarding process as I was going through the school, right? Like, I wanted to make sure it was very seamless.
Right. It's very different from the VA course that you did. And, our onboarding is different. It's like it's a very different role. I know that we already mentioned here that kind of, what's the next step after VA, but it's not like this natural, it's not even really, in retrospect, maybe the most natural transition.
Yeah. So it's different because with VA, like, you just like, you have a discovery call and then you sign on, and then now you get like logins to the emails and stuff like that, and you just kind of start going.
Just hit the ground. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. With this client, I was actually in Mexico, and I got an email like, hey, like, this bookkeeper wants to be your client, and I was like, oh my God, Paul, like, I know this is vacation and I'm not supposed to be working, but I need to answer this right now. So emailed her back and set up a discovery call. And then from the discovery call, I sent her like my proposal. And how I do my business, I do my strategy session as their kickoff call. So I say, hey, we're going to do a strategy session for an hour and a half. In the onboarding piece, there's a fee to it. So my onboarding fee covers the strategy session.
Yes.
And then out of that strategy session comes the 90-day.
The breakthrough, the regular framework that we teach in the program. Yeah, that.
Yes, 90-day. Yep. And then that's like kind of my roadmap for my first 90 days.
I love it.
And then from there, we kind of like readjust. Like, we go back to the 90 days. What did we complete? What do we still need to work on? What workflows do we need to work on? And then kind of kick it from there.
What did you, dear client, blow up in the last 90 days that now
yeah.
back together again?
Yes, exactly. Yes, for
So
sure.
what really, so what changed with all of that? Like, what was was it like a change in confidence and value? Obviously, your pricing increased, but what else?
Yeah.
What else was?
Um, it was definitely a confidence, right? So like the OBM school was really nice because I learned skills that I knew of, but I didn't know like how to implement or um what do you want to say? It was just kind of like refining things, but then also learning things, right? Like marketing and launches aren't really my special sauce, right? I'm more like the back end operations and workflows. So learning those, even those basic things right there was nice because I can go to my coaching clients and say, oh, this is how we need to do a launch and this is how we need to organize it. This is how we need to put it in our project management system and kind of go from there. So the confidence was uh, a huge boost after the accreditation, especially doing the like assignments and stuff.
Projects, yeah.
The projects, yes, the projects were really
That
helpful.
scary listeners and
No, no, and they actually help because they keep you accountable, right? So,
like
like, if you
real simulation of like
yes,
insanity. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, 'cause like, there's people that will buy courses and not complete them. So, when you have something that's like, you have an assignment due or you have a project due, it really
Yeah, I
helps.
love that. I also feel that way, but that's great. I'm so great that that was helpful and that you are, because I hear it so often and we do it intentionally. We, we set up these projects so they really simulate real world examples. So when you have a
Mhm.
launch or you're onboarding a team member or you're creating that 90-day plan, you have that experience from the client simulation inside of the accreditation. So I really love that
Yeah,
that helped you to take it one next level with your client or offer maybe a service that you wouldn't have offered otherwise.
right.
Rae and I were talking before we hit record around pricing and packages because quite honestly, as OBMs, it never ends. It never ends. And we're always learning new things about ourselves. And I think that's what's actually given me a lot of longevity as an OBM is that it does always shift and you're always sort of considering different options. But one of the things that her and I, we always like to be very kind of transparent and tell you, really pull back the curtain on what it looks like sort of in a day in the life of an OBM. But Rae, could you sort of pull back the curtain and talk a little bit about how you sort of evolve your pricing alongside working with a client over time? Because naturally, there's pricing and there's that
Mhm.
efficiency trap of hourly rates, right? So, how has pricing changed for you and especially after working with a client for some time and realizing, oh my God, I'm getting faster, I'm taking less time, I'm still charging hourly. This isn't making sense.
Yeah, so I learned this pretty quickly that I was kind of on a discovery call or talking through a client. I said, "Well, how long does these tasks typically take you in a week?" And so they said, like 5, 6 hours. So in my head, I'm like, okay, 20 hours a month. And we're going to start hourly because I need to figure out, like, you might be able to do it, but like, let's just see how I can do it too, especially as I'm learning, right? So let's go
I want to
hourly.
be scope based off of
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Right, right, right. Because they also can kind of sneak things in there too. So like,
Or they're like,
you just never know.
you never ever know, my friends. You
Yeah.
never know what you're
Right.
getting into. Yeah.
Right. So, with this client, I started doing the thing, and it was actually like a plug and play. It was really like their business industry is the same as my corporate job, so it was very easy for me to like pop right into their business, see where we needed to make it more efficient, and it was like within the next month, it was like seamless.
Yeah.
What took him, let's say 4 hours, can take me 45 minutes in a week, right? So now I just cut my hours down to let's even just make it simple, an hour a week, and it was taking him 4. I just cut my hours
Right.
because I'm efficient and I know how to do my job. So um, transitioning them from hourly to scope, like these are the things that I'm going to do for you, and this is what it's going to cost you, and it's still going to be that 20 hours or whatnot, but you still have to, you know, make sure that you get that value, because it's not fair to you being efficient and good at your job to be paid less, right?
Especially as you get more experience and more experience in that specific person's business, you become more of a valued asset. And it's just so important. And that is why, inside of OBM school, I will always advise our OBMs to start hourly, but then move to a scope-based agreement when you understand exactly what is coming down the lane. Now, obviously, if this client were launching or, planning to heavily scale this year, then that probably wouldn't be the best decision. You have no idea what's coming around the corner. You're better off sort of, just keeping this time available maybe for some other things, and maybe having a scope on some of those things that you're currently responsible for that but then having a little bit of a retainer for these one-off-ish things that are coming down the lane. So you can still do like a pseudo scope hourly base, I'm sure. If choose your own adventure.
My biggest advice for imposter syndrome truly is I typically step away for a minute and like re-talk to myself and then do a dance party and then get back to it. Like that's what I do.
So yeah, you're so not go and take the shot. Just do
yeah. I got away from taking shots.
We're growing up. I know, right? Now we prefer other things. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, so what would you tell somebody who's like in between seasons? Maybe they know that they can do more, but they're not sure how to step into it.
That's a good question. I think really just kind of investing in yourself, investing in your learning and your time, right? So I will always recommend OBM school, but at the same time, like if you just don't know what to do, I think just listening to different podcasts, listening to this podcast, listening to other podcasts, and trying to figure out like what you can implement in your business or in your life to make it, easier or, better. You know what I mean? Like you're always going to try to get your life to be better, right? So I think just investing in your time.
Yeah, I think so. So invest your time and yeah, because I mean it is really an earn as you learn type industry. So I think it's so important and also to have that growth mindset, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the growth mindset is a huge thing. Yes.
A lot of us feel like, what, I need to start something new now. And so I think that's why it's so important, like how we spoke a lot in today's episode about how skills transfer over. So never sort of, give yourself that self-talk of like, I don't have it or I don't have skills that transfer over. We all have skills. In fact, before Rae and I hopped on our call, we were talking about things that we did back in the day, and how I mentioned to Rae that I would have loved to know the OBM role in university because while I was in university, in my 20s, I was like waitressing and she was speaking about how she was bartending. So Rae, can we just sort of like talk about how those are also solid transferable skills?
Yeah, like I think you just kind of have to believe in yourself and kind of just go, right? Like, so I didn't start off as a bartender. I started off as a waitress, but my boss literally told me at the time, he said, I knew you were going to be a good waitress when you were like practicing carrying 3 cups. He's like, you were like on your second day and you were practicing how to carry 3 cups. I would literally fill it with water just to see how I could hold it in my hand, right?
Yeah,
so like you just have to have that growth mindset and you just have to have like believe in yourself that you can do it, right? You can never have like, obviously doubt creeps in, but it will also kill your confidence, right? So yeah, but it also gives you like when you're starting, like when you're the bartender or office manager or in the corporate world, like you just have like this, what do you say, like tenacity, right? Like you just have like, if you just keep going and just figure out where you're going to go next, that's in taking a step in a direction. Like if you never take that first step, then you're never going to go anywhere. You're just going to stay where you're at and you're going to stay stagnant. And people are going to surpass you.
Yeah, I love that. And you just have to really, really make sure that you put yourself first and recognize. Just like we're saying, I mean, there's so many transferable skills. I feel like a large majority of my transferable skills come from things I did way before my corporate career, like the sales experience I had or the retail work I had. Like my first job was selling popcorn. I was like 14 years old. I had to talk to people. I had to, have conversations with my manager. And I feel like that really, when I think back to some of those very foundational jobs that I had, those are still the same foundations and principles that I really apply in my OBM work. So you're sitting here listening and you're thinking, shit, I don't have any transferable skills. Like, you do.
You do,
Like, scratch a little bit deeper and see what that looks like. So Rae, what does like a typical day in your life look like? Like when you're managing your clients? Because you've got a few clients from team members. What does that look like?
So it's funny, I actually just switched like the last couple of months. So my husband actually worked second shift for years. And so when I first started off, I again signed my old boss and I said, listen, Paul works second shift. I can't start till noon because the time in the morning is now with him.
Right.
Because I don't get to have dinner with my family like everybody else does. I have to have the morning, I get to have breakfast. So how I would run my day is we would just get up, have coffee, kind of relax, have breakfast, and then when he left at noon, that's when I would start my day. And I would just kind of I actually have an ideal calendar. So each client gets a work block, and I kind of have my whole day or have my whole week laid out for what times I need to work with my clients, what times I have breaks, what time I'm supposed to eat dinner, lunch breaks, all that stuff so that I can stay on track. And that's how I keep myself organized because there is so much going on. And clients like their business is like their business, right? So that's the only thing that they're kind of working around, right? So at any time they're going to message you a Slack message, hey, I need this, hey, I need this, hey, I need this. Well, if you're getting those 4 times a day and then like you're like a squirrel and you're like, oh, I got to do this right now. And then you're going to do this right now, you're never going to stay organized and you're going to miss deadlines, right? So the way I stay organized, and I also get distracted by snacks or whatnot too, but I have a work block in that I have a whole ideal calendar.
Work blocks, snack
Yes. Yes. Yeah. But then Paul just transitioned to first shift. So I let my clients know, hey, I'm transitioning my hours. I now stop working at 2:30, but I start at 8. And
that's so great that you have the freedom and the flexibility to work around his schedule because you want to spend time with your husband.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like I am so grateful that I got into this because we were working completely opposite shifts, and we just got to like say goodnight or like say good morning and say goodnight, and that was it. Like, and it wasn't even like it was just like a kiss on the cheek, like, hey, I know you're sleeping, but I'll see you later kind of thing. We only got to spend the weekends together, really, if he wasn't working. So yeah, I think that was really a game changer for our relationship too when we switched, and I said, these are the hours that I'm working because I get to spend time with my husband now.
Yeah, I love that. It's like that is such an important why to make things work or find clients that are, I don't want to say understanding because most clients, they don't own you. You get to
No,
the
right.
fact that you have that dynamic and that openness that you can be very honest about what you're doing, I think really is a true testament to like how energy attracts like energy and how you've been able to fill your roster with very varied clients from different fields, but that all have what seems like to me a very kind and caring personality. Am I right in assessing that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's like good, like attracts like in that way.
Yes. I don't ever like to put on this persona of like professional, and it took me a little bit to be like get out of this corporate like face to be like I'm a person. I'm going to talk to you like a person, and they're just like we're at a bartender. My transferable skills.
Exactly.
I'm going to sit and I'm going to sit.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to people because I know I learned how to do that when I
Right. Yeah, and we're just going to talk like normal people. And I think that's like honestly, all the people that I've been on a discovery call with, I've signed because I'm just a person and I just talk to them like a normal person, and this is what we're going to do. And all of my clients are so understanding, and I understand that they have their own lives and their own families, and I respect them and their personal time.
Yeah, I love that, Rae. That sounds so fantastic. And I know that anybody who would have an opportunity to work with you and have you as their OBM would be really, really winning. So if there's somebody and they're listening or they're catching the podcast or some transcription somewhere, how can they learn more about working with you? Where can they go?
Absolutely. They can find me on LinkedIn, Rae Raczka, or they can go to my website. It's the-appscollective.co.
And we will leave all of that information below the video and below the podcast so that you can check all of that out. Thank you so much, Rae. I really love this conversation because it is so honest about the actual transition so many of you are making. So going from doing what you can do to get started to stepping into a strategic operator role where you are trusted with the parts of the business that really keep everything moving and keep everything stable. And I really appreciate Rae naming what happens when you are really good at what you do. You know, you get faster, you get smarter. You make things go smoother. And, you know, if this episode had you thinking about your own next level, whether it's confidence, positioning, or being able to walk into a business that actually leads operations, I want to invite you to check out obmaccreditation.com. This is our OBM school certification. It is where you can learn more about what it is to be an OBM and what it really looks like to build real competency and credibility in this field. And if you enjoy this episode, share it with an operator friend who needs to hear it, and then make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next interview. Thanks, Rae, for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic.